Welcome to Cosmic Roadmap. I'm your host, Melissa Lambor, Reiki Astro Geoguide and author. I support endless wanderers with where they are meant to be in the world. This podcast is for the digital nomad, the avid traveler, and aspiring globetrotter who is seeking their next destination on planet Earth. Join us as we venture around the world through people's stories and how astrogeography has connected them to their planetary energies and purpose. My special guest today is Cindy Rodriguez. She is the founder of Elimu Girls, established in 2013, to equip girls with the skills to transform the outcomes of their lives. Her passion for human rights, gender equality, and access to education led her to start this grassroots international organization. She is a second-generation Latina woman living in Southern California. Her family stories chronicle the lives of poor Mexican immigrants who worked at the Simons Brickyard in Los Angeles, California. She feels a sense of connection with the poverty-stricken teens in rural Kenya, as they were both given a second chance at life through education and empowerment. So we met through the international bestseller that I Was In, Lineage Speaks. It was released on the 21st of January, and it's now on Amazon. And the proceeds continue to go to Elimu Girls, this amazing organization. So welcome, Cindy.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. And how has everything been since the Astro Geo session? It's probably opened your eyes to all the cosmic connections that you've had, especially to Kenya and to all the different places around the world that you've been.
I loved the session. I've always had a passion for geography and an adventure and discovering lands around the world. I mean, topography to anthropology. And I think that you were able to align for me, especially in Kenya, my sense of what these feelings that I have towards the Kenyans and my purpose. And did this happen accidentally? Did this, sometimes as a founder of an international organization, it's challenging because you're trying to constantly make connections, share stories. And I found it fascinating how we talked about transformation. That was one of the sort of connection.
Exactly. That was your Pluto line. Exactly.
My Pluto line. And,
yes.
and really just, I'm so thankful, one, that I was open to the experience as I was going through it back in 2013, but also that it's so affirming to hear that the work I'm doing is so in alignment with who I am.
Exactly. And yeah, there was that spiritual connection with the Neptune energy there, which is all about spirituality, and also the Jupiter energy, which is luck and fortune. And just to have that ease to start this organization has been beautiful.
And also just to have this feeling that they've done so much for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that, in traditional nonprofits, sometimes there's this hierarchy with first world countries as you help NGOs and, other nonprofits. And I think, for me, this piece about how much they've done for me personally and how rich they've made my life, and how really we're on an equal playing field in terms of vulnerability, exchange of ideas, women's issues, universal issues that we experience as females, and access to equality. And so hearing that, this alignment really just again solidified I'm in the right place, in the right space.
Exactly. And tell people a little bit about Elimu Girls, like how it started. Yeah.
So Elimu Girls, what it is, it's a 501c3, and we are a 2-year sewing and boarding program that really helps rural teens in Kenya find a voice, a choice, and a bank account. And we focus on rural teens, and rural teens really in these remote villages. There's cultural practices such as female genital mutilation, child bride, and it's alive and well today. And having them break the power structure of money and making money really radically changes when they graduate from school and become a first-time entrepreneur with the asset of a sewing machine. Now in their family, they've just changed the trajectory of their lives. And not only is it, confidence building and courage and this ability to know that they have a support network, it's also shifted in their families. It's shifted as thought leaders in their small villages, their role models. So the ripple effect, we can't even put our finger on, but we know that women contribute, 75% of their income back into their communities, whether they're purchasing food for, their children, medicine, all kinds of ancillary services that they put money back into their community. So investing in women is just the way of the future.
Yeah. And it was so beautiful that you came on as the organization that we were donating to for Lineage Speaks. And yeah, I was so excited because Bridget had been in the book Authentic with you. And that's the first time that I heard about you. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was like fangirling when I was like, oh, she's gonna come on and speak to us. Because I've had such a deep connection with textile arts and also helping the indigenous arts and also traditional textile arts in Indonesia, Malaysia, in Guatemala, and Mexico, and in those regions. So just to keep those traditions going, because they are dying out, where there isn't enough money or interest, and they're just beautiful traditions that shouldn't die out. So
and also the fabric too, just like literally, in our talk, we were talking about, Oaxaca in Mexico, or Antigua in Guatemala. And that really, what's woven into that fabric, and for the Kenyans, it's kitenge, is the person, their hands, their story, their struggle, their experience to being born into a system that oppresses them. It's also a talking piece for life, for shining, for innovation, for creativity, for color, for boldness, for courage. I mean, it's endless how you can weave into textiles the stories around the world. And the stories, aren't always triumphant. They're really, the duality in life is, for me, I've learned as a founder and being incredibly respectful of anthropology and cultures, is the duality that we all experience is really part of life, no matter what place you plant your feet in the sand or the dirt, what have you. That when we begin to accept the duality, your journey is so fun,
right? Because it isn't black or white. Like it's so messy. When you go,
so messy, but it's also so it's so joyous too. Even in suffering and hearing stories, women can really feel joy and share pain and suffering at the same time. It's sort of this amazing bond that gets formed when you connect with people on the anywhere in the world, really, right? Like that's what's so fascinating about what you do. It's like when you find alignment and you connect with people, you're just so much richer for it.
Right. These unlikely connections. With astrogeography. And it reminds me, we're such mirrors of each other, because it reminds me of my journey to Southeast Asia and how connected I am to the land there, Malaysia, my connection to batik, because I did a sustainability project with a batik fashion designer over there. I wanted to make it
Amazing.
sustainable and ethical. And yeah, I researched all these different techniques that were being used in Indonesia and, around that region. So yeah, I have a really deep connection over there, but it's an unlikely connection where it's not necessarily my ancestral connection. So I love that these.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like when I wrote in Authenticity in the book, I really felt that, I was the Mexicanian. I mean, yeah, because, being authentic.
And in my chapter, I say Guadalajarian. Like I like to.
Oh, that's so funny. That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I really think it serves all of us to engage with another culture that's really quite different from yours, because you find so many parallels. And I think that's some of the beauty of like, even within our own country, the USA, it's like, it serves kids, and, travel is like, just an eye opener. And especially when you can actually really travel, not as a tourist, and you can settle into a place and you can begin to really appreciate, you have so many more things in common than not. And I think practicing less judgment is also something that travel teaches you, especially for me as a founder of a nonprofit that we're really disruptors. And, we really want to dismantle, and hope for the eradication of female genital mutilation in Kenya, and hope that, we can impact numbers with, child bride in these girls so they can marry for love and not because, they're used as property. Yeah. So I think that as you are exposed to some of these practices that happen this day and age, it's so much more powerful when you try to understand why these things happen. You don't have to give a stamp of approval, or, what have you. It's really about, how do you move forward? How do you help women in these third world countries have access to not only human rights, but, their legal rights, as, whether they're going through a divorce under Sharia law in a certain village, or their husband is cheating on them and they can't access, the money that they share together, or their land rights. I mean, it just goes on and on. So as women are educated and really understand that they are not inferior, they absolutely can make money, and can contribute, then so many things shift inside of them.
Right. And how did it all start? How did it start in Kenya? Was that the first place that you thought like, oh, I'm going to start an organization? Like what came first?
Not at all. Really, I was a principal. I was a teacher and been in the education world for, 20 years. And I had stopped working when I had my second child, and had the opportunity to go through a friend, to go visit him in Nairobi. And he made the introduction to his Canadian friend, who's my partner now. And we talked about, hey, why don't you come out and you can help us train the teachers? So I said, great. And they were building a nursery school, which was extending into an elementary school. And it was just how you would dream it to be. I mean, I literally arrived, flew all the way to the other side of the world. I'm just a normal Joe Blow mom. And really, it was probably going to be one and done. I was really just going to help the school, thought it would be a great adventure. And it was amazing. I arrived and the kids came out, they rushed the car. They were singing Jambo Sana, like in these little purple checkered uniforms. They were so cute. And we had this amazing experience. And I remember I was reading Brown Bear to the kids. And there was a little girl in the back of the classroom who was visibly upset, and went to the teacher, and she sort of tucked her head into the teacher and she was crying. And I thought, oh my gosh, maybe I'm overdoing it here with like Brown Bear, like really emphatic, and like it's too much.
Yeah.
And so I went to the teacher afterwards and I said, is she okay? when she said she's just never seen a white woman before. And it was in that instant that I realized, oh my goodness, I mean, it's just, I'm not in Kansas anymore. Like, this is really a different space. And in that afternoon, I was asked if I wanted to visit the sewing school. So of course I was like, yes, let's do it. And I remember hopping in a tuk-tuk, and it was like this dirt road. And I arrived at this really obscure, like big red gate, this compound. And it didn't look like a college, what we would consider a college here in the States. And the doors opened, and there were cows and chickens and the simple structure in the back. And I walked in, and that's, I mean, my whole everything was on fire. I mean, not only like a visceral response to the sounds of the push pedal sewing machine, but the feeling, the energy, the feminine energy in that room was just something I've come to love. And as we began to tell our stories and they shared their stories, I was so moved and horrified and taken a bit back by the idea that this could happen to people today. It's that it's really only a plane ride away. And the mic was sort of passed to me. And I think my whole life I had sort of always presented myself a certain way. And here was this opportunity to exhale and really just be connected with them, with like the shame that they were sharing, with the inferiority, with the results of feeling so oppressed. And it was that choice that I had when they passed this like invisible mic to me. And I just, I felt the tears roll down out of my eyes, because I chose to share with them things that I had never shared really with, in this trajectory of the US, sort of like the dream,
right? All the accolades,
all the accolades and the programming and the program, what we're born into,
the matrix
and the matrix. Yeah. And so it was really, I think, I always say the day I met those girls was really the day I met myself, because it was probably one of the first times I had really ever shared that. I was like, how much it was like physical, how much shame I felt. Like all this junk in my trunk was literally like coming all out. They're probably just like, who is this like volunteer coming to see us today? Yeah. And it was such a gorgeous, beautiful exchange. I really, when I looked at those girls, those Kenyan girls, these dark, beautiful women, I really saw a Mexican girl staring back. And that was probably one of the first times that I really understood that I had been so not authentic and ashamed and not really owning my ancestral roots, and really, I guess, enjoying the benefits of, assimilation and kind of being as white as I could be to fit in, and hearing these girls and their strife. And I guess I felt like, wow, you have been made to feel so bad because you're a woman, 2, you're an African woman, and 3, you're this remote rural village girl with hardly any education. And I just wanted to tell them, I get you. I see you. I understand you. This happened, like, I'm brown too. And I didn't want to be that white girl anymore, that I had kind of been pretending to be my whole life. So that was really quite the experience that I had with, with the Elimu girl, sort of like knocking on the door. And I think for me, in that same day, I had the opportunity to visit, within like, maybe an 1/8 of a mile, the owner of the college had hosted the moms of the girls, because there was like ethnic tribal wars going on about 2 hours north of Malindi because of the elections. And I had never seen anything like I saw that day in terms of destitute, in terms of watching a woman have, a baby on her breast, a brand new baby on her breast, and she had nothing. And she visibly looked so demoralized, so poor. And I just had this feeling of wanting to connect with her and help her see that she was worthy. And so it was just this onslaught, this day of like, the world is telling me on this alignment,
right,
geography,
Pluto, Neptune
are really like, I knew in that moment, it was like literally seared into me. Do not walk away. You can do something. Do not walk away from this situation, and not help these people. And like I said, I realized that these women have helped me so much more than I will ever help them, because they really cracked open my soul that day. And I'm so thankful for it, because it's allowed me to live this sort of, there's a healing process that I went through once I started as a founder, but also just to find meaning, like to understand that all the crap, all the badges and the programming, when you strip that away, we really can relate to another person, another soul right next to us so beautifully, if we just allow ourselves to be vulnerable.
Yeah. And I've seen that with entrepreneurship myself, where I've had to strip away those accolades, like everything, like it doesn't mean anything.
No,
it doesn't mean anything that
it
really humbles you.
It's very humbling. Yeah, it's very humbling. And for me, after I started the 501c3, I feel like, well, that was the next chapter, which is still evolving in the sense that, one, just running a nonprofit, that I really don't love the nonprofit world of like the hierarchy of like, we're here to help you. The first world is here to help you. I really also don't love, I think if I have to offer a gala or some kind of like, I just want to throw up. And so I'm a pretty non-traditional nonprofit founder, but I will say that like human connection is probably, and this connection between, the US and Kenya, and connecting to women who truly can help each other. We're so powerful, this whole power of one. I mean, whether you're a young girl or a more mature woman, that we literally can change the trajectory of a girl's life. And if we're not dismantling and disrupting, especially as first world women, we're lacking in our obligation then, because we can make such change that they can't. It's not that they're asking for a handout. We're just cracking the door open. And I mean, by God, they come through and they kick it open, but we need to give them the opportunity and, sort of the pathway out of inherited poverty, inherited oppression, inherited shame. And many of these girls, as you dig into their stories, it's like they're really married as their third or fourth wives. The stories I can go into, I mean, they're really quite profound and quite disturbing. But the work, that's why every day, I mean, I love what I do. I love the purpose. I love that I can lay my head on the bed and know that every night, my gosh, I count the girls, like they're not a statistic to me. Like when we talk about scaling numbers, and it's like, come on, we are talking about a girl that has dreams. She's capable. She has a soul that's like creative, innovative. Like, let's find what's this unique talent that we have here and help it grow.
Yeah. And what's the journey that each girl, is it a 4-year program that
it's a 2-year, sewing and boarding. So they come in from all these different villages within like a 2-hour radius outside of probably the second largest city in Kenya, called Malindi, semi-urban city. It's coastal. It's off the coast of East Africa. But these rural villages are really, really difficult to get to. And so we work with the chiefs, the priests, we work sometimes directly with the parents, sometimes through alumni. And we identify girls that really, show that they are looking for change. They show promise in the sense that they want to return back to their villages and really help their communities, that they don't necessarily need to be role models. They're not. When they come in, they're super timid. They actually, a lot of them have already gone through female genital mutilation, and they actually had no idea until they get into the college that other girls didn't go through this. They thought everybody went through this.
Right.
We use song, sometimes there's prayer. The girls contribute in the way that they help. They have chores. They, help make meals. So it's really this cultivation of a family and a safety network. And so through the women that lead the college, Madam Grace and Madam Lynette, they are from the villages that these women are from. And they absolutely understand how to not condition, but to give tough love when needed, but also to help build their courage and their confidence. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, it's a lot of work, the really, like, from temple to temple, right? Like, entrepreneurs in general, if you don't have a strong mindset, it's really, really challenging. You're going to get knocked down like 20 times over.
Right.
And so it's not only the mental capacity that we build, but also the network, because, we know that when you're going to fail. And so how are you going to be mentally tough enough to get back out there and to keep moving forward? And these women, I mean, talk about trailblazing, right? Like, I find challenges as a first world woman that's educated with double masters, blah, 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 blah,
Right.
that to use my voice. And here we're asking them to be probably the first female entrepreneurs in their village. And so the amount of like connectivity that these women share with one another, whether it's alumni to students or teacher to student or student to student, it's I love it. It's like, it's magic. Watching the girl come in timid at the very beginning to when she is graduating with a sewing machine in hand, like, can't wait to get home because she's ready to go make some money. It is really, really empowering. And I think that that's the piece that I connect with so strongly. It's like, empowering someone is really looking inside and just unpacking and unfolding the power that's already there. It's already there. It just either someone demeaned it, someone diminished it, someone took the light out, but my God, it's there. And so just this ability to like have it unpack and bloom is really pretty awesome.
I love that, because that's essentially what I do in my meditations for my sessions. And it's like your highest self has always been within you. You're just, taking the layers off little by little.
And the power of witnessing story, we find it powerful, as you share with your podcast, and, for them, it's the context is different, but the move of witnessing and mirroring and like even their ability to be like, you got this, you can do this, like watching someone else be shamed or abused, or even if our girls go back, and the high risk that we experience when they go back in the summers of them not returning because of being married off as a child bride. We talk about like, that's part of getting some of the chief support, the family support that they're going to commit to 2 years, but they understand their rights, and they know they're going to be so powerful in this, in this trajectory. Like, you've shifted them to a new lane in life.
And it's beautiful that you have that connection with the chiefs and the rest of the community in the village, because that's integral for them to keep going.
We have to. I'm a, Mexicanian living in the US. We have a Canadian that, helps in Ottawa. with the International Elimu Canada. And we are, what I love about it is that we are all Kenyan led. We have to be. You have to look like your community. That's why it actually works. That's why at the grassroots level, we're actually disrupting, because they see someone before them go through this strife and having to have to show the strength. And they are like, oh, shoot, yeah, like I can do this.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's just so many accolades that go around, because it's like, we have a CEO, we have about 11 on staff right now, and they really truly deserve the credit of being, these role models and disruptors and true leaders. I'm just the conduit, the voice that allows for more people to learn about this change and this transformation.
Amazing, amazing. So what do you see for the future, now that you know the energies that you're meant to connect with? We were talking about Oaxaca and Guatemala. Guatemala, you have amazing energy, and you mentioned you haven't been yet, and all the textile artists, the indigenous artists that are based there. I think that would be amazing. You have moon node energy, which is connecting to your purpose there. I feel like there'll be something flourishing down there.
But matriculated there.
Yeah, but
I think that, for Elimu Girls, I really feel like we are looking to partner around the world with designers, with really innovative people. They don't have to be designers, but someone in the fashion world, again, working with textiles, that we could truly collaborate, that we're learning from each other. And I think that's probably a real core value of Elimu Girls, is that, it isn't this like top down, that we're very much equal, and everybody that comes to the table, the power structure is just, we're all here. How are we going to grow? So I really look forward to, exploring more of my strengths around the world. Like you mentioned, Guatemala, Mauritius, like we'll see. And then for me personally, I really am owning being a lot more feminine and in feminine flow. So I'm not sure what's going to happen in Spain, for example, or
where you had like love energy.
So we'll kind of see. I'm open, and I'm thankful that you opened my eyes to that, because I think that's part of there's two things, I guess, openness and assertion. I mean, I think the openness for me was going to Kenya, right, in the first place, and just kind of being like, what is this experience? And just not saying like, oh no, I've never been to Africa before, and I should really just, let me just hold off until I feel more safe. I go with my family, or, I just kind of was open to the experience. But I think also inserting yourself, I think people, especially when we work with young women, it's like, it sounds a bit harsh, but no one's going to roll out the red carpet for you. You're rarely even going to get an invitation. Like, you have to insert yourself into what you're passionate about. You own your life. You need and could and should and have the ganas, so the desire to go make it happen. Like, we are fierce.
Exactly.
And when we connect arm in arm, oh my God, we are unstoppable. We can take on lions. So it's like, that's the piece of inserting yourself. And when a young girl or a woman has a tribe with her, she has the confidence within herself to know, like, she may not get it entirely right, but by God, she's gonna put one foot in front of another.
Yes, I love that. And what projects are up ahead for Elimu Girls? And where can people reach you and find you?
We have our artisan makerspace, which we're looking to continue to develop. So we created we have two products: Pendo, which is our love rag dolls, and they were sort of established once we participated in a 2019 Paris fashion show. Our girls did an 8-piece collection. So we took this amazing, hero story, this world platform, this fashion story, and sort of stamped it into something that the girls created. They named it, they designed the entire thing, and it's really made by their hands. And it's this tangible piece that you can welcome into your home. You can give to a boy or a girl, and they get to experience Pendo, which means love in Kiswahili. So that's one product that we have on our site, which helps all those donations go directly to the girls. We also have paper dresses. So the very first year that the girls sew, it's very difficult to sew or practice their craft on real materials. So we use like recycled maize paper, like almost like corn flour paper. It's a little bit more durable than just paper. And they make these gorgeous little uniforms. They look like little uniforms. They're art pieces, really, but they use them for the trade. And so we also sell those. We've collaborated with artists. And so we have a great collaboration right now in Colorado with the artists that use diamond dust and sparrows, because they represent loyalty and courage and devotion. And so, we do these interesting collaborations, and those proceeds go to Elimu Girls. The book, we can support, many authors. Lineage Speaks,
exactly.
Authentic. And we are looking to develop an ambassador program. So we'd love it if you follow us on our social channels, Elimu Girls, or also sign up for our newsletter. And, for me, I have a very strong background in education. So starting advocacy and activism at a young age in a way that it's fun, it's impactful, it's kind of right up my alley. So please sign up for our newsletter to learn more about our ambassador program that we hope to roll out in 2022.
All right, amazing. So definitely follow Elimu Girls, so you can follow Cindy's journey through this organization. And thank you so much for being on today. And remember, lineage goes beyond your ancestors. You are meant to connect to the cosmos, so you may finally find your cosmic family. Until next time. Thank you for listening to Cosmic Roadmap. If you're curious about astrogeography and where you're meant to be on the planet, go to cosmicroadmap.com to download your free passport to purpose. You can also book a session with me where we can explore your own cosmic roadmap and chart your next destination in business, love, and life.